Welcome. Today we have again with us Professor Julio Samsó. Welcome. And we're going to talk a little bit about his new publication, a large volume on the history of astronomy, which compiles a lot of his research and the research that he has accompanied of several other people throughout his work as a professor and as a researcher. Welcome again, Professor. So please let us know a little bit about this publication.
Well, this publication, I had the idea of publishing this. I had already a plan for the book about 30 years ago, which means that I began teaching parts of it at the university, and using the same ideas I later used in the book. But I couldn't really, while I was still working, I could not really spend enough time in order to write it. Then I took profits of my retirement. I was retired. I was living at home in a village with a very good library around me, because I have been collecting books since I was 23. And I had at hand everything I needed in order to write the book. The book took me 8 years to write, and I was lucky enough to be able to publish it in Brill. And really, the main idea of the book is that the existence of a common astronomical tradition on both sides of the Strait of Gibraltar. And I have tried to collect all the information available on astronomy in the Iberian Peninsula. I'm afraid Portugal is one of my great holes, because I don't know much about what was going on. I was lucky enough to get the publications by Elena in order, at least for astrology, but for astronomy, I'm afraid I know very little. But the idea was to see that the influence of the great astronomer of the 11th century, Ibn Zarqallo, known also as Azarkel or Azarkiel, was enormously influenced, had an enormous influence, not only in Arabic astronomers and astronomers writing in Arabic in the Iberian Peninsula, but also on people writing in Latin, in Castilian, in Hebrew, and in Catalan, which meant that my idea was to get everything on top of the table. In Spanish, the expression is moros, judíos y cristianos, if you understand what I say.
Yes, of course.
Okay. At the same time, the influence of Ibn Zarqallo, which was very clear in the Iberian Peninsula, reached the Maghrib. How? In a very peculiar way. There was an astronomer from the end of the 12th, beginning of the 13th century, Ibn Ishaq al-Tamimi al-Tunisi, who lived in Tunis and who had contact with a Jewish astronomer who was working for William II, son of Roger, the Norman king of Sicily. According to the information given by the historian Ibn Khaldun, Ibn Ishaq obtained the results of the observations made by this unnamed Sicilian Jew. As a matter of fact, what it seems is that the Sicilian Jew did not transmit the result of his observations, There were probably none. But he transmitted a lot of information about astrology. And this was used by Ibn Ishaq. And Ibn Ishaq transmitted it to his followers because Ibn Ishaq did not began preparing a zich, a set of astronomical tables, and he began preparing a zich, but he didn't finish it. And the materials prepared by Ibn Ishaq were later on adopted and adapted by two Maghribi astronomers. One was Ibn al-Banna al-Marrakeshi from Marrakesh, and the other was Ibn al-Rakam, a fellow from Tunis who ended his life in Granada, invited by the king, the Moorish king of Granada, and in this way materials that had been exported to northern Africa returned to the Iberian Peninsula through Ibn al-Rakam. Apart from this, there is a very important anonymous Tunisian zich, which was discovered by David King many years ago, and which is preserved in only one manuscript in Hyderabad, in India. So this was the purpose of my book, to follow all this tradition in all languages, for which I have not many problems with Latin, with Castilian, with Catalan. I had a serious problem with Hebrew because I don't know any Hebrew. But I have been helped enormously by two Jewish scholars. One is Shlomo Sela, the editor of Abraham in Ezra, and the other is Bernard Goldstein from Pittsburgh. And thanks to them, I have finally been able to deal with the Jewish astronomers who were writing in Hebrew, because there are others who wrote in Arabic, and these are easier.
Yes. Yeah. And I had the chance to see an overview. I haven't read it completely, but the chapter that you dedicate to astrology, which it's very interesting and very important, because you do make give a broad idea of how in that period astrology is connected with all this circulation of knowledge and all the variances and all the peculiarities that we know exist in the peninsula. And we talked about that in our previous conversation a lot, but it's still, I think it's how shall I say, and one of those chapters for those who are specifically studying the history of astrology. It's quite useful to guide on what do you know. You make an excellent point of what do we know at this point in time with our research, which I must say it's incredibly useful for the study of that period. Thank you.
Thank you for all the work.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work.
Yeah.
That is my heritage. This is what I'm living for, because I'm not going to do anything important after this. I'm too tired.
Oh, we don't know. We don't know.
I am 78 years old.
So?
And so far, my mind works properly. But how long will it continue be working?
We don't know.
No.
I think when we are in academia, and especially in the study of humanities and history, people that are older are like high performance athletes, because they accumulate all this experience.
Mm-hmm.
So they are extremely valuable, and it has nothing to do with retirement, because they continue to learn and they continue to
of course, because otherwise, television is very boring.
It is. We don't have one.
If you know something about television in Spain, there is something called the television number 5, which is horrible. It is exactly what my wife likes. I have to get out and go to. I live in a big house. My office is in the second floor, and I go back, and this is why I'm here with my cat, who's always with me.
Kitty. Is she
Yeah.
there? Oh, Kitty. Hello. She's 22.
She is a very old cat.
Mm.
She is 21 years old.
Oh, 21. Yeah.
Hiya, Pasha.
Not happy.
She's angry. I
She was
touched her.
not happy about
She was
this.
not happy to so, yes.
So I'm happy that television is so bad because it gives very good results.
Yes.
It keeps you researching.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
no. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
For all the work you've done, and thank you for sharing this with us today.